Lance McCullers said he had an MRI yesterday, revealed a small muscle strain. Chandler Rome reporting this. Brian McTaggart reported this. I mean, Lance McCullers reported this. He was having the media around his locker saying this. He is shut down for a few weeks. Opening day, out of the question for Lance McCullers. I'll spin it like a spin doctor here in a second, but let's hear from the horse's mouth. Lance McCullers, not a workhorse, though. He's not a workhorse. We'll hear from the horse's mouth, just not a workhorse. Lance McCullers Jr. on the injury and being shut down.
Yeah, I had a great offseason and was incredibly excited for the year. Felt like was in an amazing spot physically and got to camp early. Threw a bullpen here last Tuesday, and unfortunately, after that bullpen, nothing during the bullpen raised any red flags. Just after the bullpen, into the evening and into the next day, has had some elbow soreness and things of that nature. And we've been obviously I've been a little bit upset. I was really looking forward to a great start to the camp and a great start to the season. And anytime this happens, it's very frustrating for me, especially for our team, our fan base. And I just wanted to have, a great year and get off to a great start. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. So taking a couple days to, collect myself and our thoughts. And it's not something serious. We had MRI last night. We went ahead and did an MRI, and everything is structurally good. Probably best case scenario, my UCL is good. Just a small muscle strain, and going to set me back a little bit, but it shouldn't be anything like last year. It should be something where hopefully I'm playing catch in a couple weeks.
What is your concern here for Lance McCullers?
And I told you this.
2 days in a row. You were on yesterday, Lance McCullers today.
Well, and you and I had this conversation before camp even started when we were going back and forth about, Lance McCullers, and the listeners were worried about his value and what he was making. And I had the overall concern that ever since 17, when he overexerted everything, and I know he had Tommy John after that his arm might never be the same, and we might not see the same health-wise Lance McCullers. And it always, as you know, it's really been a hot button with me how long it took from the time he left the White Sox series in the playoffs till the time he returned to the mound 3/4 of the next season in. And just the mystery around it and what caused it, and is it still there and whatever. And now here we go again. And now the first thing that's going through my mind is, see you in August. Is there something more you're going to do this time as opposed to last time? Or are we just going to be left on eggshells for the rest of the season to wonder when and if we see Lance again?
Yeah. We know what caused it. Him throwing. Him throwing is what causes all of his injuries.
I'm just saying, is there something wrong medically? I know structurally, but what is causing it in his arm that keeps rearing its head?
They said a small muscle strain. If we want to get to the nitty-gritty, and I understand what you're saying, it's like two kind of different things. The reason that I'm a little bit more optimistic today than I was yesterday is, one, Lance McCullers isn't your best pitcher, whereas Jordan Alvarez is your best pitcher. Two, I kind of enter every single year with Lance McCullers knowing he's only going to pitch at maximum 120 to 130 innings. So it's okay, if I'm going to get one Lance McCullers injury a year, just go ahead and knock it out in the first half of the season. Kind of like last year. Now, did he come back at full strength last year? Was he 100% Lance McCullers? I thought in the regular season he was good. I thought in the postseason he was a little bit shaky. He had one good start and then had some shaky starts after that. So you wanted a fresh Lance McCullers, 100% up to his capability to pitch very, 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 very good. But going into the year, I don't assume Lance McCullers is going to make it through and pitch 30, 32 starts. I don't expect him to go 160, 170 innings. I go into the year with Lance McCullers, maybe part of it's because he gave me the injury discount with his contract, where I only expect 120 innings out of him. 20 starts would be fantastic for Lance McCullers. So that it happens early in the year, it's okay, let him build up to full strength by the summer. Hopefully he doesn't sustain another injury by the time the fall rolls around and you're into the postseason. So that's the spin of optimism that I take on this. Also, one huge difference I think between Lance McCullers and Jordan Alvarez is we have a diagnosis with Lance McCullers. He went and had an MRI. He went and had an MRI. The MRI said that there was no structural damage. There was nothing wrong with the UCL. There's just a small muscle strain. So, of course, you're going to baby Lance McCullers because Lance McCullers is kind of soft. So you're going to baby Lance McCullers. You're going to try to get him at full strength, and then you're going to try to work him up to when he can rejoin this club, I don't know, late spring, early summer, somewhere around there, which is fine because the Astros have 5 other starters that I think are really good, and this is going to give a chance for Hunter Brown to be making a start every 5th day. It's going to give us an opportunity to see Jose Urquidy make a start every 5th day.
See what Forrest Whitley has in camp, too.
I don't think he's making the big league team by spring training.
I didn't think he was before, but now,
but even then.
But now, if he pitches well in spring training, there's an opportunity for him, and we get to see more of him. Seth Martinez.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to come down to because I think that the Gage guy that they picked up from Toronto, they gave him this signing bonus because he was going to go play in Japan. But the Astros gave him a signing bonus as they claimed him off of waivers. So I think that they actually like him to be their loogie. Like he's going to be their loogie. So now this opens up another spot on the pitching staff, which would go to Seth Martinez. Now, Forrest Whitley's time is coming. Like he might be second off of that pitching staff right now. He might be the 15th pitcher, and you're going to carry 13. So he's climbing. He's probably going to make an appearance this year. I just don't think it's by opening day.
If you're adding an extra arm on opening day for the bullpen, then it's Seth Martinez. If you're in need of luxury has its advantages. And the Astros have a luxury in starting pitching. But if they didn't, you might be looking at Forrest Whitley and saying, hey, we're going to be a starter down. You're a starter. You say you feel as healthy as you felt in the last 4 years. If you pitch relatively well this spring, there's an opportunity for you, depending on what we do with our starters, because to me, the whole McCullers thing is easier to digest because of the fact that you are in such a great position with your starting pitching, and also because a year ago you did this for Justin Verlander. You basically said, hey, we're going to block out some time for you. You're not going to have to pitch as much, because I agree with you. He's fragile. I'm not going to say he's soft. I'm just going to say he's fragile. And because I have deep concerns about everything being connected in that arm, and just because you had Tommy John surgery doesn't mean that you repaired every single bit of that arm, and there's breakdown concerns. So you give him some time off, and then when he does come back, you go to the 6-man rotation, and just like you did for Verlander, you do this with the notion that he doesn't have to pitch as much so that he can pitch his best when you need him the most.
Yeah, he's probably an injury away, at least one more injury away from being on this 26-man roster. I mean, just going into spring training, and also Forrest Whitley had an ERA of 7 last year, so he would have to show something. But there's other guys on the 40-man roster that they might actually have in front of Forrest Whitley, like Brandon Bielak. He's still on the 40-man roster, somebody who has innings, somebody who's pitched in the big leagues. I'm not saying that Brandon Bielak's very good, but I think that they would call up Brandon Bielak before they call up Forrest Whitley, especially from a starting pitching perspective. They have a couple of other dudes that why are we talking about these guys? Sean Dubin, JP France, that sort of thing. But the reason that I look at Lance McCullers and Yordan Alvarez from two different point of views really is because of the diagnosis. He had an MRI. They revealed what the MRI is saying. They're telling you that there's a muscle strain, a small muscle strain, which is okay. That this happens from time to time with pitchers, especially, and baseball players. So Yordan, it's more about the fear of the unknown. Because look, I firmly believe that they've had MRIs with Yordan. Sure. I firmly believe that they've had X-ray imaging. I actually even trust the doctors a little bit that there is nothing that the imaging is showing you. But from our peace of mind, being on the outside, not being within the walls there at West Palm Beach, Florida, or whenever they're at Minute Maid Park, the unknown is we have no idea what's going on with Yordan Alvarez's hand, other than it's chronic and it happens a lot, and it rears its ugly face a lot. Lance McCullers' injury could even be more severe than Yordan Alvarez's hand. But we know the prognosis. He had an MRI. There is nothing structurally wrong. There's a small strain. They're going to shut him down for a little bit. And because I don't anticipate Lance McCullers ever throwing 130, 140 innings in a Major League Baseball season, I'm glad it's happening now as opposed to July.